Good afternoon, everyone. I'd like to reconvene this May 20th meeting of the Education Finance Omnibus Conference Committee. Senator Nelson, good afternoon.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Nice to see you again.
And see you.
We've been busy since we met last. And we're so appreciative of finally getting those joint targets last night. We've got your offer earlier this morning. And it included the House offer. And so what we have in front of us here, which I believe is being handed out right now, is we have a Senate offer number 1, which obviously includes the first two lines are those things that Governor Dayton said were absolutely important, which is the 2 and 2. Completely linked with those linked categories, and then of course the tribal contract schools. So we need to know those things. Those would be lines 8 and 39 if you're clear to the left column. Those are non-negotiable. We are glad to accept those, and certainly we know that per pupil formula allowance is really the gold standard of education funding, so we're glad about that. The rest of the offer includes some provisions that are House, as we talked about, Mr. Chair. The first thing would be to look at the savings, so we know how much money we will be spending in the end. So the first few lines after the global agreement lines include savings, some for the House had suggested, some that are similar, and some that the Senate suggested. And then we have a few things further things that we've accepted from the House, a couple Senate things. And what I'd like to do is, in a more detailed context, have Ms. Hofer kind of go through each line, and then see if there's any questions.
All right. Thank you very much, Ms. Hofer.
Thank you, Mr. Chair and committee members. So being passed out to you is the Senate's first offer to the House. Just to briefly orient you to the spreadsheet, the lines down the left-hand side may appear out of order, but they reference the original line on the spreadsheet. So if you happen to also be looking at the conference committee change item sheet that Ms. Adrians and I prepared, those line item numbers should correlate to the line numbers on the change item sheet. So as Chair Nelson mentioned, the first two lines on the spreadsheet, line number 8 and line number 39, were in the global agreement. So line number 8 is the 2% and 2% formula allowance increase. This is about $388.8 million in the first biennium and $561.2 in the tails. Line 39 is the tribal contract schools aid. This would be $3.4 million in the first biennium and $4.6 in the tails. On line 21, the Senate accepted the House position, which was savings associated with the certificate incentive grant. On line 52, the Senate accepted the House's savings provision related to the Northwest Regional Partnership cancellation. On line 93, there was a similar provision relating to a cancellation of the litigation fees for the Department of Education of $2.5 million. On line 49 is the Senate savings for the singing-based pilot program, otherwise known as Rock and Read, of $230,000. On line 51 was the Senate provision that was also included in the House's offer today, the Vision Therapy Pilot Program, a cancellation of $200,000. On line 95 is an operating adjustment to the Perpich Center for Arts Education of $4.9 million in the first biennium and $4.9 million in the tails. On line 108 is a savings related to the Crosswind severance payments of $800,000. On line 84 is a similar savings related to the early learning scholarships. It's a cancellation of $4.5 million from fiscal year 2019. On line 139, there's a provision marked similar, and it's called Early Learning TBD. And this would be $50 million in the first biennium only for a program that the conference committee would jointly decide upon related to early learning. On line 94 is a modified version of a House provision. In the original Senate budget, there was a reduction of $3.4 million in the first biennium to the Department of Education's base. The Senate offer provides that this would be at the forecasted level and would not reduce the Department of Education space. On line 69 is a modified version of the House provision related to special education. The Senate would propose a cross-subsidy reduction only, so it wouldn't include the other reforms included in the House's offer today. That would be $51.2 million in the first biennium and $89.9 in the tails. On line 105, the Senate acceded to the House position of providing the state academies with an operating adjustment of $1.1 million in the first biennium and $1.1 million in the tails. On line 92 was a Senate provision, which came at no cost. So the related line is down in the revenue section, line 113. This would be the Board of School Administrators fee increase from $75 to $100. That would generate $174,000 per biennium, and that is appropriated out. And that is within the general fund. On line 70 is a modified version of Senate proposal on Safe Schools aid. The Senate offer number 1 would provide $39.5 million in the first biennium and $41.7 in the tails for Safe Schools aid. Then lines 137 and 138, these you'll notice are called House Provisions Finance Items from the House Omnibus and Senate Provisions Finance Items from the Senate Omnibus. So what the chair recommends is after all of the provisions above, splitting the remaining amount between the House and the Senate, you'll see that the annual amounts are left excuse me, the annual amounts are left blank, but the biennial amount is $11.7 million in each biennium, and that's included in the total. And it would be up to the House and Senate to decide how they would like to spend that $11.7 million each. And then the final item is on line 114. This was a Senate proposal to allow the state academies to retain their rental income and use it for professional development. As a result, the general fund is reduced by $6,000 per biennium, and the special revenue fund would be increased by $6,000 per biennium. And line 119, you can see that the total Senate offer number 1 meets the budget targets of $540 million in the first biennium and $716 million in the tails. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Hofer. Senator.
Mr. Chair, I know we've discussed, I think, all the provisions on here. The one piece that might be new that I wanted to touch base on is line 139. This is the early learning to be determined. So all parties have $50 million of one-time funding for how are we going to fund our 3- and 4-year-olds? How are we going to do that? And there's some very different points of view on what's the best way to do that. And I think, and I know it's very important to you and your caucus, to me and mine, and also to the governor. And it's going to take some time to sort that out, what that's going to look like, but we're all pretty agreed on the $50 million. So the idea was to be able to plug that in to our spreadsheets, get the things that we know that we can agree upon, and we know that at some point soon, we're going to need to really hash out what's that 3- and 4-year-old early learning going to look like. But I didn't want it to slow down all the other things that we could be doing.
Senator, where do you expect we find the time to do that?
Oh, well, I think this is something, we will find the time. I do believe the details are such that I get a sense this is one of those items that we'll be negotiating with the governor on, or his commissioner, perhaps. In speaking last evening, I think she had some, is able to negotiate on the part of the governor, is what I heard. So could very well be the commissioner. But there are so many other moving pieces that I believe we will do that. But I think it's important for us not to spend so much time on that right now, that the most important thing is for us to get through the other parts of the budget that we are able to agree upon quickly, knowing that we will come back. And I mean, like, could be today, could be tomorrow, could be Wednesday. Hopefully, it'd have to be before Thursday. I understand we're coming back on Thursday, perhaps. So it would be very soon that we would have ironed out exactly what that looks like on those details. But knowing that we are charged with buttoning up our conference committee today at 5, is what I was told. And anything that's not, as I said, gets kicked up to leadership. And I believe that we have the best minds for doing what's best for kids in education sitting right here at this table. So my intention was to bring forth a Senate offer today that is focused on students, funds what works, is equitable to the governor's priorities, the House priorities, the Senate priorities, and then, of course, leaving, once we got those bigger pieces taken care of, at least with the dollar amounts, we don't maybe have all the details yet on the early childhood. We have an opportunity here to agree upon what those dollar amounts are, and then we know that there is some that will be determined at the House, at the chair's determination with the House in your conferees, and then an equal amount that would be determined by the Senate in the Senate conferees. That was the idea and the gist behind the offer that we've presented. We did not want to, we could have taken the time to, just present all the Senate provisions, but which is often offered, what the first offer is here's the Senate provisions, they're all my Senate provisions, and here's the House provisions, all the House provisions. But we thought we just skipped that step and went right to those things where we thought we can be able and should be able to agree and then move forward. So we can also spend more time talking about really some of the real sticky points, which could be what's that 3 and 4 year old early childhood going to look like.
All right. Thank you, Senator Nelson. Commissioner Ricker, good afternoon.
Hey, good afternoon, Chair Davnie and Chair Nelson and committee. Thank you so much for allowing me to comment. Thank you so much for this proposal and the participation as a co-equal branch of government. Few comments just to inform this. It is a priority that we continue to continue our commitment to diversifying teaching, and so that remains a priority that I am not seeing on this proposal right now. I also know I have heard quite a bit from the 80 or so communities that have those 4,000 voluntary pre-K spots, and hearing from those school communities about the availability of those spots. There are school communities counting on those spots, and that commitment to continuing those 4,000 voluntary pre-K spots is really important. And also, we do have an opportunity here to send a message around the special education work we do in the state of Minnesota. We have a real opportunity to first send a message of priority to our students with special needs, and we have the opportunity to make that 2 and 2 on the formula as whole as possible. And then finally, I do need to point out that when the department presented our proposal for maintaining our operating work at the Minnesota Department of Education, what the mandatory built-in growth in that was in Min-IT, we have mandatory built-in growth for our lease that we have signed for our space for the next 2 years. We have mandatory built-in growth in the enterprise services rate increases, mandatory built-in growth in the known healthcare increases that will be incurred. And we also, just in this legislative session so far, we have new areas of partnership between MDE and the legislature while maintaining but not expanding the operating ask outside of that 1970s mainframe. And so far, MDE needs to change our data collection and analysis to reflect a new medium and high growth calculation method. MDE, we expanded the student maltreatment offenses language, and so there will be an increased number of maltreatment reports submitted to MDE, resulting in significant additional work for MDE in conducting intake, investigations, and making maltreatment determinations. Also, with lead in our drinking water, we are requiring MDE to develop guidance and consultation with the Department of Health on how to implement lead in drinking water legislative changes. And then we do have a requirement that MDE modify existing educational partnership programs to add several additional qualifying partnership characteristics under the educational partnership program design change. And so because of with this proposal, with the built-in growth, with the added opportunities to partner with the legislature on some new initiatives, there would be cuts to staff at MDE at the same time we were taking on additional partnerships with the legislature.
Thank you very much, Commissioner. Questions from members to the Senate proposal?
Mr. Chair, I might
Senator
make
Nelson.
a few comments to the commissioner's comments, just to kind of more fully flesh those out. Diversifying teaching certainly was important. It was, as I said, the Senate initiative, the Teachers of Color Act in 2017, and we did fund that at higher levels than the House currently is, and perhaps the governor's budget too. I can't recall that. But while it's a priority, it was not one of the priorities that was signed at the global agreement. And when we met last evening, although it was about 11:45, so I realize it was a tad late, that was not one of the issues that was addressed in our meeting last evening. However, the special ed was one of those items that you mentioned last night that was of great importance. And I wanted to make sure that to add just a little bit of information to the Senate proposal regarding special education. Buying down that special ed cross subsidy with the amount of money that we have in this offer is, at best estimates, buying down 3% on the per pupil cross subsidy and 4% in the tails. Do I have that correct, Mr. Arneson?
Mr. Arneson.
Mr. Chair and members, that's approximately correct. The Senate's approach in building this offer was to identify the amount, the gross amount of the cross subsidy reduction, and then if it was the committee's wish to pursue that, then we would back into some percentage subsidy reduction. But my estimate is it would be roughly 3% in the first biennium, and beginning in fiscal '22, approximately 4%.
Thank you, Mr. Arneson. Senator Nelson.
And we know that that particular approach is part of the governor's approach as well, although we're funding it at a bit higher level. And the reason that is so important is it delivers the aid to where the highest costs are. So because it's 2% of a greater number or 3% of a greater number would provide greater relief to those districts that are having the highest per pupil special ed cross subsidies. So it gets to the problem. Now, in all openness, it does not get to the problem, which is of the bill back, which we have consistently talked about. Both bodies, the governor is aware of that as well. And we believe that that will be addressed in the governor's task force looking at special education in general education funding in general, but there is a special piece, as I understand, on this bill back issue. It is very complex. We've looked at it over and over, tried to look for different solutions, because clearly the way it is now, there is, one could say, an incentive to overspend. When you are doing the ordering and not the paying, well, you might pay for 10 cents of every dollar you order. That can lead to perhaps overuse or over ordering. You always have to keep the choices tied tightly with who's making those choices with the payer, and we're not doing that here. But we found that it's so complex that we actually need to have a more in-depth look at how are we going to better change that, which I think needs to be changed, that bill back. But the way the House did it would decimate some of our charter schools. And Minnesota is known as the home of charter schools, some of the great innovation that has spurred further innovation in our public schools. And we don't want to do that. So we don't want any of those unintended consequences. So the Senate's provision is, again, to put more money into that special education cross-subsidy relief, but do it on the avenue that is sending those dollars directly to the districts that are spending the most on that special ed cross-subsidy. Knowing that there is another problem that we need to continue to look into. We just don't feel that the bill-back solution, as the House has proposed, or even the governor's proposal, one of them is to then just backfill those charter school losses due to changing the bill back, which solves the charter question, but it doesn't really get to the nub of the issue, which is what we currently have is in effect driving up special education costs because you can order something that you're paying 10% of. And so we need to get, I think, to a real solution. And I'm hoping that the governor's task force, I know there's a particular piece just on the bill back solution. So we are looking to that in the future as well. And then in addition, the commissioner mentioned the 4-year-old, the 3 and 4-year-old. And again, we're agreeing on the money of that, and also all of the, you've got the list here of the VPK losses by conferee. We have the list too by, all of the all the senators. We know exactly where those 4,000 spots are. I hate to call them slots, they're children. But where those children are being funded. And the Senate proposal, as you know, takes the same amount of money, sends it to the same districts, to the same geographic area, only it allows the parent to choose at which high-quality setting to use that scholarship. So all of the children would still be getting the same amount of early learning scholarship dollars. Of course, in the scholarship model, those dollars go to students who are most at need. In other words, students whose parents' income is under the federal poverty guideline, 185% of the federal poverty guideline, whereas the position by the House and the governor is not need-based. It just kind of says, let's pay for all 4-year-olds preschool. And I think you might have seen one of the editorials in the last couple days. I know Art Rolnick wrote one as well. That when we have unlimited resources, we can do those kind of things. But we live in a world of limited resources. And we know that our state is growing, its demographics are such. We're going to continue to have needs, growing needs, and it's important that we target those resources to those most at need who would not otherwise be able to, in this case, afford a 4-year-old high-quality early learning. So we just have a different approach, but it's not a limiting approach. It's not less money for early childhood education, and it's the same amount of money going to the same areas. So that's why we kind of set that aside as its own. We're all agreed upon the amount of money. We're going to have to talk about what's the best way to deliver that. So I just wanted to make sure that was covered, that you're well aware that that $50 million is covered in the Senate proposal, just in a bit of a different way. So those were just a few of the comments that I wanted to put forward. And of course, we took the modified House position on the MDE base. So Minnesota Department of Education would be getting the amount of money that was in base funding, but it wouldn't be getting additional money on top of that. But the base funding was there, which was not the Senate position originally, but we moved to the House position, near the House position on that. I think the House position has additional funding over the base. But that's just a little bit in response to some of the things that the commissioner brought forward. But I'd love to hear the other comments or questions from other members, as you called, Mr. Chair.
Senator, thank you. That was helpful for us to better understand the directions you're proposing we go. So very helpful for that. Thank you. Representative Youakim.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just want to thank the Senate. Obviously took a long time to put this together, and thank you for looking at it. I am too want to echo the concerns about no money for the Teachers of Color and Indigenous Act, and we are on a tight budget. We didn't get the targets we like. We had to come down a lot on that, but my consternation is there's some good policy that we didn't adopt that could have helped alleviate some of that pain, yet we were told over and over again that, the policy discussions will come later. So I hope we revisit that, because I noticed on the bottom of your agreement that you say we're still not going to have the policy discussion. So I hope you consider that a little bit, especially if we end up not being, even the money we put towards that was nowhere near what they were requesting. So it would be nice to at least give them policy. So I'm also concerned about the no money for the VPK, and then also the money that you do put in is just in the current biennium, and we need some in the tails too, because there's promises that have been made to children in those programs, and I know I'm speaking for Representative Pinto, who's stuck over in public safety right now, and we've had this long philosophical discussion. I know we approach it differently, but the money for the VPK programs that we had in our budget just keeps the promises made to 4,000 kids. It stabilizes those programs, and those are programs then that give parents more choice when they do use their scholarship money. So that's something that we do need to definitely discuss. And, yeah, and in public too. And I am concerned about the timeline. We were supposed to be wrapped up by 5, so it looks like we have a lot of work to do, and I hope we can still have some of those good policy discussions.
Thank you, Representative Youakim. Senator Nelson.
Oh, thank you, Mr. Chair and Rep. Youakim. I did want to note that at the bottom of our offer sheet, it says policy discussions upon finance agreement. So that's something we've said from the get-go, that we definitely want to get to those policy discussions. I think by your count, we've adopted maybe 40 or 80 different provisions so far. I would anticipate that we would continue forth with those things that we've already adopted, some policy, those policy things that don't have dollars attached. So again, and if I do hope, Chair Youakim, we can get to those items. And note that if we don't, next year is that policy year. But this is the finance year, so our first priority is to make sure that we get things as budgeted. Regarding the VPK, I did want to just note that the House provision, tails is always good money, we like that, but the House provision, neither does the House provision carry VPK into the tails. So I just wanted to make sure that that's clear, that is not a distinction between the Senate offer and the House offer. So just wanted to clarify a couple of those things.
Actually, Senator, the offer,
at your
yes,
offer.
sorry, the offer, yes. I think we're okay. I think we're okay. Any other questions from members? Senator, thank you. You've been generous in explaining some of the background, I guess, your thinking to this offer. I appreciate that. That's always helpful in our effort to find common ground. Oh, well, we look at that. We do continue the VPK at a reduced rate. That's the trailing payment.
It's just the trailing payment.
That's
not
true.
It's just the cleanup payment.
I'm not sure that the public understood what we meant,
But we do know.
It's technical, folks, it's okay. But we will go back, in an ongoing effort to find common ground. So getting, some of your background, some of your rationale, some of your thoughts is helpful. And we will be back no later than hopefully 3:45. We stand in recess.